What's up, everybody? Sean Erixon here, and this is Spud Session. I am the host. This is a pilot episode, which means hopefully there are more episodes to follow, more to come. But just a little bit about me, I guess, to start us off here, just so you know what you're getting into. My humor consists of kind of like the encyclopedia. It's dry, sarcastic, can be witty, self-deprecating, absurd, dark, you name it. We'll laugh together one way or another somehow. I have zero professional experience in this, which totally makes me 100% qualified to publish this podcast to the world. Hopefully my passion and enthusiasm for this will steer the ship to success. And what does success consist of for the Spud Sessions? Well, as of now, there is no monetary value that I'm looking to achieve. Today, we're more looking for consistency and enjoyment. Whoa, easy for me to say. As long as we're consistently pumping out episodes and honestly just having a good time doing so, we're here to stay. And kind of person that I am isn't really as complex as it could sound. I'm not as all over the place as I may seem to be. I try to journal and notate things as much as possible nowadays, more than I used to anyway. I actually went to college for photojournalism and did absolutely nothing with that. I even worked in a photography studio and just absolutely loathed it. But nonetheless, like I would notate anything and everything. For example, like places I would eat at, like restaurants. Like I used to be, well, I guess maybe still am a little bit, a buffalo wings connoisseur. Every time I would try buffalo wings somewhere, I would kind of take note of what I got, what I tried, what I liked, what I didn't like. Just so like next time I knew what I was getting into, if I should get that or not again. And more or less just kind of like, I guess, future help myself save some money. Like, oh, we're going here. I'm not going to get that again. But yeah, I mean, I do it with a lot of other things too, like with media, shows, streams, books, etc. Like I consume content like no other, I feel like sometimes. And I mean, that leads me to like, I just love stories in general, which is why I'm also working on another project called Spudent, which is short for Spud Entertainment, which consists of short form content consisting of various stories. It's a major work in progress at the moment, but once there's some updates to share, like I'll definitely talk about it on this podcast, but look out for that in the future, maybe. Right now, all my favorites would consist of the following. For books, I'm actually in the Thrawn series by Timothy Zahn. It's a Star Wars saga, if you will. There's 2 different series. I'm actually currently on the second series now, which consists of 3 books. Each series consists of 3, but I'm on the second book of the second series, so I'm kind of nearing the end of that. I'm also currently reading No Country for Old Men. But we'll talk about books more and more on the podcast. We'll have some weeks where we do a little book club where we talk about the books we're reading and stuff like that. So just a heads up, the show is going to consist of spoilers, like probably every episode. So if there's something you haven't digitally or, you haven't actually consumed yet in terms of media content and we're talking about it, I'm going to do my best to try to like give you a heads up and potentially tell you how far you should probably fast forward in the episode to skip any kind of spoilers whatsoever. But if you don't mind the spoilers and you're here for the ride, then, keep on listening. I guess the TV shows would be kind of either Sopranos is like a really awesome show to keep watching like once a year. But like my ultimate comfort show is probably Psych. I could watch that show literally every day if I had to. In terms of movies, this one's really hard for me to like pinpoint one movie, but one movie that I kind of default to a lot is Inside Man with Denzel Washington. I don't know why. Denzel's one of my favorite actors of all time, but like that movie was so good. I remember the first time I watched it, I don't know why, it really clicked with me and I got it, and it was just a really well done movie in my opinion. I know it's not like a top movie of all time for anyone but me probably, but that's okay. I guess some unpopular opinions. Well, one in particular, A hot dog is a sandwich. It's simple. Think about it like this for just a moment. Like, you have cheeseburgers, right? Hoagies, or subs or heroes for my non-Philly friends. Cheesesteaks, po' boys, grilled cheese, hot dogs. They're all sandwiches. Why wouldn't a hot dog be considered a sandwich as well? All these other sandwiches don't have the word sandwich in them, so it's not like, that's really the dictation of it. They all consist of some sort of bread layered roll slash bun, essentially, which a hot dog does too. So a hot dog's a sandwich. Enough said. Here, I'm gonna kind of share some things as well, like what is there to expect on future episodes? Like, what is the Spud Sessions about? And it's really just about a bunch of different things happening on every episode, a bunch of different sessions, if you will. So I'm going to actually briefly discuss some of my influences, folks who have influenced me in my life a great deal. Consider this an example of our Mashterpiece Sessions. Mashterpiece, like mashed potatoes. Trying to do a little play on words here. But anyway, I'll even do a tier list afterwards and provide an example of how we would go about that on our show when we do things for the Mashterpiece Rankings in our sessions. So my Mount Rushmore of people that influenced me, pretty simple, actually. I didn't take too long to put this together, I promise. Number one, it's a no-brainer. It's my mother. As a single mother, she really stood on business and took care of me, whatever it took, and developed me into the person I am today and who I'm so appreciative of being. I mean, I take pride in who I am and how I carry myself ethically, morally, etc. She truly did an amazing job, and she'll probably never hear this, and that's okay, because I know she knows how amazing of a mother she has been to me and continues to be. I love you, Mama. And then on that, we'll go to the next one. We got, if you've heard me do anything like this before in podcast form, you'll probably see this coming. Allen Iverson. And I'm not even going to mention practice here, but AI is on here because at a young age, for me, I mean, when I was at a young age, like youth, he was Philadelphia, and he had all eyes on him from across the globe. He was a shorter basketball player, but somehow, some way, he really commanded the game. And that was so impressive and like ahead of its time almost. His swag, the way he dressed, the baggy clothing and whatnot, and the way he played ball. I mean, it was hard not to want to be the answer. He was the reason I loved basketball for the longest time growing up. Yeah. But moving along, number 3 on the list, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I almost put Dwayne the Rock Johnson here, and on some days this could potentially be interchangeable, as well as my last person coming up after this, but I got to give the nod to Steve Austin. Just the way, like, when I was growing up, he was definitely the biggest influence on me, like as a character who stood their ground in the ring, out the ring. Watching him as a kid, he was so cool. I felt like I feel like I started to become my own man. It's almost as if he raised me through the television screen sometimes, and that's a huge thing on a child. But all right, let's go. Lastly, I was going back and forth with this between two actors per se, Adam Sandler and Will Smith. And, Will Smith is going to get the nod here. Being from Philadelphia helps, but watching Fresh Prince growing up was big on me, huge. I still get emotional during the episode where Will cries to his Uncle Phil about his dad not wanting him. I said it before, I love stories, and when it becomes relatable, there's nothing better in terms of entertainment in my eyes. Will also a triple threat entertainer, which dared me to dream big, something I'm finding myself to become reminded of as an adult now is like huge. So definitely got to give the last one here to Will Smith. Ooh, all right, that was a lot. So let me talk about that Mashterpiece ranking thing a little bit more here with the tier list aspect. And in fact, on the next episode, we'll have quite a few spuds joining me, if you will. We'll have an assembly of other spuds going through a tier list of sports logos from the 4 major sports here in the U.S., which is the MLB, the NFL, the NBA, and NHL. However, this first one is just going to be me by myself doing this. This whole episode is just going to be me by myself doing this. I wanted to kind of put a feeler out there, the pilot episode just being me, just so everyone kind of gets an idea. That way going forward, we have the template to keep going. If that makes any sense to anyone but me, I don't know. But anyway, here we go. So we're going to be doing Ghost energy drink brand. So Ghost is an energy drink brand. They also do a bunch of other stuff like protein powders and such. I absolutely love their energy drinks. One of my best friends put me onto it a long time ago, and it's definitely my favorite brand of energy drinks. However, recently I found another brand I'm starting to enjoy a lot as well. But anyway, here we go. And it's because of the zero sugar. I mean, that's the big additive for me. So the way a tier list works is typically there's a S, A, B, C, D tier. Everyone's pretty familiar with A, B, C, D, and then F, of course. It's kind of like the grading rubric in America, if you will. I don't know how other places of the world do gradings for, school and elementary school and such. But anyway, S tier is the highest tier you could possibly be. It's kind of like, when you buy an iPhone or not, maybe that's not a good example. The Samsung phones, they have like the Samsung Series S or whatever. Usually the S means like super or special edition, etc. Like it's the top tier. It's the absolute top tier. So S, A, B, C, D. That's the ranking order. That's how you'll be feeding. That's how you'll be given these lists. And in the show notes, I will always provide a link to whenever we do these things, even including the Mount Rushmore, just so you can visually see what we ranked in what order and get a feel for it if you want to see are these guys crazy or not. So let's start it off with the S tier list. This was pretty much a no-brainer for me. Tropical Mango is my absolute number one pick for the Ghost Energy drinks. I will never turn that down. It's my favorite drink. It's so damn delicious. The orange cream is also up there in the S tier list. It's really good for in the morning. It kind of tastes like orange soda a bit, but it's so good. It's such a great morning beverage in my opinion. If you really need an energy drink to start you off in the morning, orange cream, definitely up there. Tropical Mango is like all day pick. Peaches is a newer brand, or a new brand. It's a newer flavor that Ghost has put out. And by the way, all these drinks that are going to be in this list are going to be 2025 options that are currently available on Ghost's website. I know there's other flavors out there that still linger. I don't know if they technically still sell them or they technically still have like the branding rights to like the Swedish Fish ones, for example. And that's why they're not on the website anymore, but you can still kind of find them here and there. I'm not including those. I'm only including the ones that they are officially selling from their website, just so we're clear on that. So that being said, we have Tropical Mango, Orange Cream in the S tier. We're also going to add in two more: Peaches, which is their newer flavor this year, and Citrus. Citrus is such a refreshing flavor. I absolutely love that flavor. Peaches is a newer one, very good as well. Those are my S tier picks. Peaches could have maybe slipped down to A tier, but I put it in S for now. I just think it's so good. A tier. This was a pretty easy one to pick out as well. In fact, most of this list was pretty easy to pick out. A list, we have the Sour Pink Lemonade, the Electric Limeade, and the Cherry Limeade. You can kind of see the similarities here. Both of the limeades are in there, and then we have the Sour Pink Lemonade. Now, I love lemonade, I love limeade, but there is one flavor that kind of fell a bit, and you'll see that later on, that kind of fit the bill. It just wasn't quite it for me. So that's your A tier: Sour Pink Lemonade, Electric Limeade, which is a newer one this year, and then the Cherry Limeade. Let's go to the B tier: Warhead's Sour Green Apple. I don't know why I like this flavor so much, because the other Warhead sour flavors I'm really not that into, but the green apple is definitely up there for me. And the Straw Bango, I've only had this flavor one time, and I don't remember if I really liked it or not. I think it was just kind of mid for the most part, which is why I'm sticking it in the B tier. I love strawberry and I love mango, so you would just kind of assume that this should have been an S tier, but I don't remember it being that great, so I'm going to have to stick it in B. Maybe if I try it again, I'll have a different opinion, but for right now, it's staying put in the B tier. So let's move down to C. So as you can recall, we had the A tier packed with the lemonade and limeade options, right? Well, in C tier, we actually have the iced tea lemonade, which is a newer flavor. I don't know why it just doesn't hit like the other ones. It's not as flavorful. It just doesn't really do it for me. We also have America Pop, which is kind of like the red, white, and blue one. I had this originally years ago when they were doing a collaboration with an esports team called FaZe, and I hated it. But I recently tried it again, and it wasn't that terrible, but it still wasn't that great either. We'll add in the Warhead Sour Watermelon, which is crazy because I love sour watermelon. That's usually like one of my favorite like gummy flavors. Just doesn't do it for me with Ghost, unfortunately. Neither does the Welch's Grape. It's kind of meh. I don't know. So that's our C tier. Iced Tea Lemonade, America Pop, Warhead Sour Watermelon, and the Welch's Grape. And then the D tier, I think for most people, this would probably coincide with everyone else, but I'm not saying these flavors are terrible in D tier. They're okay, and I would probably try it again. It's just, if any of these other options are available, I'm going to grab them before I grab anything in C tier. So we have Bubblicious Cotton Candy, and Warhead Sour Black Cherry. Surprisingly, the Bubblicious flavors really do taste like Bubblicious, and they're actually better than you would think, but they're still not great flavors, if I'm being honest. They're not terrible. They're not like that bad. They're just not that good either. And I don't know why the sour black cherry doesn't do it for me. That's all I really got to say about it. But that is my tier list. So that's our first Mashterpiece ranking tier list, which once again, you'll see it visually. If you go to the show notes, you'll actually be able to see that. And kind of, if you want to do it yourself, you could do it yourself and let me know if you agree or disagree. I know Ghost isn't like a super popular brand. I think it's finally becoming a little bit more mainstream. I'm finding it more in Wawa's now, whereas like a year or two, it's like impossible to find it. So maybe you guys will start trying it now after I gave you my tier list and my suggestions. Tropical mango, orange cream, peaches, citrus. Those are the flavors I absolutely 100% recommend. You cannot go wrong. Sour pink lemonade, electric limeade, cherry limeade. Also very good hitters as well. I would just honestly mess with those. Everything after that's kind of, do what you want. So we got that out of the way. We'll do another example of another session or segment that's going to be kind of common on the show, like on every episode pretty much. And it's what we call Spud Shots. It's just kind of a weird name, but I'm rolling with it for now. And it's a quick segment with quick questions and hopefully quick answers. So let me just kind of dive into it and you'll kind of see what I'm saying. And every week will be hopefully a new person, there's probably going to be repeated people on here, but every week should be a different person is what I should say. So I'll start it off for this week, but simply said, here we go. Favorite snack food that nobody else seems to enjoy? Easy answer for me, buffalo flavored combos. I think it's technically blue cheese buffalo flavored combos, but I don't know. Either way, I usually hate blue cheese with buffalo wings, but these combos smack. I absolutely love them. They smell terrible, and like no one has ever told me, oh yeah, those are good. Not a single soul. I love them. I don't know why. It's weird. They're addictive. Anyway, that was a long answer. Phrase you say too often. No worries. I say that all the time. I feel like I used to, a long time ago, I worked on a call floor, and this girl next to me would be like, you love saying no worries to people. And I'm like, I didn't even notice. And that's the first time I've ever like was told that. And now I notice I say it a lot, like all the time. But moving along, what's your go-to coffee order? I don't like coffee, but you now know I love Ghost energy drinks. But I kind of hinted at it earlier, and I'll tell you now, I actually just started enjoying Monster zero sugar energy drinks. Maybe one day we'll find another person or two that has drank enough of these zero sugar energy Monster drinks, and maybe we'll do a tier list on that. We'll see. Are you a morning person or a night owl? This really depends. I find myself more productive at night. I'm literally recording this podcast after midnight, or this episode anyway. But However, I found myself to be a morning person when I'm like on a vacation or a trip or something like that, where I'm eager to go out and explore. I get up early for that. Are you an introvert, extrovert, or ambivert? I've never even heard of that. I had to quickly see what that means. Okay, so it looks like it's something, it's like a balance of the two, which is what I was going to guess. So a weird quirk of mine, a weird quirk of mine. I can't say that word correctly, I don't think. I'm told I'm very outgoing and potentially I talk a lot, which is odd because I feel like I'm pretty antisocial the majority of the time. As much as I absolutely cherish alone time, I seem to do the most when I'm around others. Take that for what you will. So I guess I'm an ambivert. I don't know. A beach or the mountains? Kind of an easy one for me, actually. Mountains, most likely. I enjoy both. I love both, but I probably would prefer dirt over sand, if I'm being honest. Favorite comfort show? I mentioned it earlier. It's called Psych. It's not even close. I can rewatch every season till I'm dead and gone. It's just such a feel-good show, and there's emotional episodes too and stuff, but like, just, I don't know. The humor of that show just really resonates with me, and the story's pretty good. First album you ever bought? Well, first cassette tape I recall ever getting was a metal album called Issues by Korn. First CD, I honestly could not recall. Favorite movie quotes? Oh, man. That's not an easy one. I was going to say may the force be with you, but that's not really my favorite. It's just iconic. I don't know. Okay. I might butcher this. Actually, the coach that Coach Herb Brooks portrayed by Kurt Russell in the movie Miracle, I believe is probably my favorite, or at least one. There's actually a couple quotes in that movie that are really good. He gives a speech in the locker room, and it kind of goes a little something like this. Great moments are born from great opportunities. That's what you have here tonight, boys. That's what you've earned here tonight, boys. One game. If we played them 10 times, they might win 9. But not this game. Not tonight. Because tonight we skate with them. Tonight we stay with them. We shut them down. Tonight we are the greatest hockey team in the world. You were born to be hockey players. Every one of you. You are meant to be here tonight. This is your time. Their time is done. It's over. I'm sick and tired of hearing about the great team that the Soviets have. Screw them. This is your time. Now go out there and take it. I'll have to check. I probably nailed it. I don't know. I think I might have missed a couple of things, but I'll have to go back and check. Another amazing quote I loved in that movie during a practice scene where the players are absolutely gassed from skating. Coach goes, "The legs feed the wolf, gentlemen." And I don't know why, that's just such a cool quote to me. I never thought of it that way, and now you hear it like all the time in like sports references. But sorry, this was not a short answer at all. So I guess Spud Shots is over from here. The Tater Ticker. Just some light news, really. So this is going to be another reoccurring segment or session that we'll have on the show, but it's just pretty much a couple of hand-picked like news articles that someone wants to share. So I picked out 3 of them for this episode. I kind of picked one from each category that I really like, which is one from technology, one from entertainment, and one from gaming. So with that, Apple actually announced upcoming OS updates for iOS, macOS, iPadOS, etc. The naming scheme will match the year it is released in. So you'll start seeing iOS 26 going into the year 2026. It seems like Apple is doing a lot with the UI in terms of looks and moving to a more translucent feel, calling it a liquid display, I believe. It seems neat, but I'm a little worried about visibility. We'll see. I'm sure Apple will have it all ironed out when it comes to the launch. I'm mostly excited to see their iPad OS. It's finally inching closer and closer to Mac OS, which it really should be. The multitasking with the iPad OS looks like it'll finally be a ton more productive, which I'm very excited for. With entertainment news, the F1 movie starring Brad Pitt releases on June 27th, 2025, and features actually my favorite F1 driver, Lewis Hamilton. As an F1 fan myself, mostly casual, but I enjoy the sport quite a bit. I'm actually even more eager to do or go to the new F1 arcade here in Philly soon. But in meantime, this is what the film will be about. In the 1990s, Sonny Hayes was a Formula One driver, most promising driver, it seems, until an accident on the track nearly ended his career. 30 years later, which is where we'll be at in the movie, the owner of a struggling Formula One team convinces Sonny, like, hey, return to racing, become the best in the world again. And driving alongside the team's hotshot rookie, Sonny soon learns, the road to redemption is not something you can travel alone with. And I'm excited for the movie. I think it's going to be great. There's a lot of marketing going out for it, but I'm just excited to see an F1 movie in the modern day, and I think it'll do really well. And lastly, to round out the news, we got something for the gamers. The Switch 2 from Nintendo has launched, and it seems to be very successful. Shocker. As a Switch 1 owner, or a past owner, I've actually sold it. I did enjoy my time with the Switch, but now with these Linux and Windows-based handheld devices coming out for gaming, I'm just not as interested in Nintendo's offering anymore. Maybe one day or, years and years down the line, if I have some children, it could be a worthwhile investment since it really does cater to a more youthful audience. If you consider, the Switch handheld, if you're considering the Switch handheld, and the 2 does seem to be a decent jump over the original. The display alone seems to be a lot better, supporting up to 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, which is what all the current gen consoles are pretty much pushing out nowadays anyway. So it's really caught up, which is great. So Switch 2, it's out. It seems to be great. If you're interested in buying one, you probably should. I think this is the Nintendo handheld to own for the next, 5 to 6 years. So now you kind of got an idea of some of the sessions you'll see, episode to episode here on Spud Sessions. So let me kind of dive behind the scenes. Why Spud Sessions? Well, Spud, deriving from our gaming group, Spud's Club, which is a majority of the people you'll see on this or hear on this podcast. That's where the Spud ends come from it. And then, or the Spud name comes from. Sessions, because the podcast will contain a ton of sessions brought together for each show. Think of sessions as segments. And why make a podcast? Well, why not? I'm looking to explore creative outlets. I've been looking to answer my creative calling more and more recently, and feel this would be a great avenue to explore again. I say again because at one point I did try to create a podcast and I just didn't have the time nor the support. Hopefully this time around things are a bit more settled and things will be a little bit more different this time. And why should you listen? This might be your vibe. It may not be your vibe. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure if I'm really making this podcast for others. It sounds selfish. I think I'm really making this for me and my enjoyment and my amusement and entertainment. But if you enjoy fascinating stories, you'll be sure to latch onto something here at Spud Session at some point. It's not just me. We'll have rotating guests and, engaging in different sessions and special guests to deep dive into various topics and stories. So it's going to be a bit more expanded eventually. But, we are where we're at now. We never cover political topics. It's something that kind of triggers pretty much almost anyone. It could go either rah-rah or intensely upset one way or another. But you can definitely hear about pop culture, personal stories, which I think we're going to probably lean a lot on, interviews, community submissions eventually, possibly, maybe. I'll talk a little about that in a second here. But what inspired me to finally, hit the record button, right? Well, why now? Well, I have always been a creative creature. Past year or so, I have not been tapping into my creative juices, which I believe for a healthy mental, this is important to explore within yourself. I would say I'm generally a happy-go-lucky person, but at times I was definitely feeling a bit blue. So if not now, when? Obviously, the time is now. It's time to do it. And speaking of the time being now, let's take a sneak peek. What's the future content looking like? Do I have a plan going forward? No, not really. But over time, I'm sure this will change. I currently have a few episode ideas planned out now going forward for the next couple episodes, kind of, sort of, not really. Well, however, as of right now, I'm going to be a bit more free-flowing type of a podcast until I have more tools to become a more structured show. I do, however, have a bunch of ideas for some of the sessions I'm looking to, at conducting, which you've already heard quite a few of them. I'm working out on the names of some of the sessions or segments, but here are some examples. Couch Crumbs. It's a media consumption takes us over and we discuss whatever we're watching, reading, streaming. So we'll have like a book club or talk about shows, hot takes, silly fan theories, honest reactions. Upcoming on the next episode, actually, we will most likely be deep diving into the movie The Prestige. Came out back in 2006, which had tons of high praise. And actually, I have not seen it until just this week. So a lot of people found that surprising. But a few of us will be on to talk about that movie in our Couch Crumbs session, the next episode. Something else we'll probably dive into a bit here and there is current cravings / what's cooking. Kind of haven't nailed a name on that one yet, but really food related content. What have we tried recently? Where are we going out to dine and what we're enjoying? Discuss food trends, whether it's the chicken sandwich of the month or whatever, and what we're cooking up ourselves. We love food. We're going to talk about food one way or another. The podcast is named after a potato for site. Come on. The Tater Ticker, which you've heard me kind of go into a little bit. Current events, anything but politics, really. We handpick a few articles of news and share it with amongst each other and just kind of get it out there for more visibility and share with each other just for, whatever. It could be tech, sports, personal, local, etc. As long as it's, just not political, really. And there may be an exception here and there, but for the most part, we're going to keep it mostly away from that. The Mashterpiece Rankings, which you've definitely gotten a few examples of. You got a pretty decent dose of this today, hearing me speak on influences on a Mount Rushmore in my personal life, and then the tier list of Ghost energy drinks. On paper, I know this sounds mid. I get it. And me doing it by myself isn't, that entertaining. But trust me, the Spuds have many heated debates. Very entertaining. Doing makeshift tier list on the fly in the past, and this includes Mount Rushmores as well, from flavors of energy drink brands and influential people. Oh my goodness, I'm at the point. I spoke too much today. The influential people of Philadelphia. Most badass bald dudes, best fast food chicken, local cheesesteaks. We'll rank anything. At some point, maybe we'll poll the audience via Instagram or something where the fans can dictate the next ranking theme we conduct. Who knows? Another thing I'm going to kind of work out eventually is something called the Top Tater. And that's someone or something we rule as worthy for this episode as being celebrated or worth celebrating. It could be as simple as like a fellow Spud celebrating their birthday, or it could be a local hero doing good in the community. It could literally be anything. This episode, we're not going to have one, but moving forward, hopefully we'll have someone to shout out or something to, put some shine on, if you will. Spud Shots, you've definitely gotten a glimpse of that. Quick generated questions for someone in every episode, and hopefully every episode it's someone different or so on and so forth. I kind of want to get into the idea of doing something called Spud Mail, or maybe we'll call it something else, but possibly one day fans can email or voice in to give us a topic to discuss or questions to ask. I'm a huge fan of a show called Frasier. It's an older show. They tried to do a reboot, didn't go so well from what I understand. I actually didn't really watch it. But I'm kind of borrowing that idea from the radio show that was in Frasier, the TV show. It's super entertaining. I think it would be a hit, but that would be a little bit further in the future, potentially. And with all that being said, we're pretty much at the end of the episode. There's not a whole lot more for me to talk about. You kind of got the idea now. I kind of shared some content with you guys on what's going to be happening moving forward, so you kind of get an idea. I know this episode probably isn't that entertaining, and I get that, but I really wanted to put out a template going forward. That way you kind of know what to expect, and people who are going to be a part of the programming will also kind of get the gist. So it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a template for the future. So with that being said, we are on social media such as Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, I think. But you should really follow and subscribe, or whatever the button on your screen says, to help support the podcast. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. The handle is pretty much the same on all those platforms, by the way. Spud Sessions, one word. And that's Spud Sessions, one word. So with that being said, I think that's all for this session. Until next time, stay crispy.